Welcome to the Winedown, an afternoon podcast where two techie blokes sit down over a bowl of wine and chat about what's happening in the world of tech. Enjoy while Scott and Nick open up about their week in technology.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the Winedown. I'm Nick Beaujard, and with me today I have, as normal,
Scott.
Hello, Scott. How are you?
Good. I am here again.
You
How
are.
about that? Bit of a surprise, isn't it?
Where are we? What are we drinking?
Where are we in lockdown? Yes, I happen to be at home. Where do you happen to be, Nick?
I happen to be at home too. What a surprise!
That's a surprise. Yes. I wonder what the outside looks like. Anyway,
I've got a very tiny window. I can just see grey clouds.
Yeah, it is a bit of a dull day, isn't it? Yes. I tell you what, though, one of the benefits of being at home is you do get to spend a little bit of time cleaning out little bits of the house that you hadn't sort of gone into in a while. And in the back of the cellars, you find all sorts of things. And I've got this lovely 2014 organic Meritage.
Very nice.
From British Columbia. So a little area called the Okanagan Valley. It's, I don't know, 400 kilometres east of Toronto. My wife went there and picked this up when she was there. So it's very nice. Pyramid wine, as they call it. Bit of a strange fellow that runs it, but hey, each to their own. There's a little place just on the edge of a little village or town called Kelowna.
Okay.
Yeah. But
I have something different, of course, because we're not drinking the same bottle. So I have a Fraser Gallup Estate, which is one I'm not familiar with, from the Margaret River. It's a 2017 Parterre Cabernet Sauvignon with 86% Cab Sav, 5% Petit Verdot, 5% Merlot, 2% Cabernet Franc, 2% Malbec, probably some other stuff in there as well. Estate grown, hand-picked and matured for 18 months in new and second-use French oak.
Oh, so you know, here's an interesting thing.
Go on.
This is a Meritage, which we don't really have as a common thing here. It's actually a licensed name based upon a blend of various grapes. So in the US, let me go back. In France, in the Bordeaux region, they don't make like what we would traditionally know as just as a Shiraz, for example. They make whatever they grow and they put it into a wine. Here's the wine. It could be a blend of this, it could be a blend of that, it could be some of this. And the winery next door will just, whatever they grow, they'll put it into a bottle and they call it, that's their winery's wine. So you could actually be drinking some sort of a blend of this or that or something. And it could be different every year. It could be but normally it's the same sort of thing because the grapes generally don't change that much. But of course, with champagne, when you go into the US and other parts of the world and try to put all these blends together, said, oh, no, you can't call it like a Bordeaux-like sort of red. That's a licensed part of France. You're not allowed to use that. So they came up with this term called the Meritage for a blend. And it's a licensed name that they sort of use to say, look, we're going to call stuff Meritage instead of trying to call it fake Bordeaux.
Yep. Okay.
It's a blend of grapes, basically, and it's actually quite nice. There's a lot to it. Of course, we don't really do that in Australia. We just go, look, it's Fred's wine. Here it is.
And here's what it's got. So that's fascinating. Now we have a super interesting topic. I think it's quite topical today. A topical topic. We're talking about scams. We are talking about telephone, text, and email scams. And I was reading. I've now forgotten the number, of course, because we've just started the podcast. But I was reading. There's more and more money's being extricated from innocent people by these scammers.
Yes, well, here's the thing. As long as they work and as long as they're generating a return, they will keep happening. And we've seen them continue to happen and grow. And this is a bit like the whole malware thing, or the virus, people getting viruses, getting extorted for money. That type, it's an industry. And it happens because it's financially viable and people are making a lot of money on it. Sure, but illegally, but it's
let's start at the beginning because there's a few, and there's one which really winds me up. Now I know you're not a Facebook user, right? I know you don't use Facebook. I know you're very hard to find on Facebook, but Facebook, you're continually getting bombarded with these things. What's the silly things like name a 4-digit number. This was the one I saw recently, and a whole bunch of people I knew put 4-digit numbers underneath. Now, how many of those you reckon were pins? I reckon probably quite a few. And then there was a whole bunch of other things. Like the last 3 digits of your phone number. If it's over 800. Right, you don't get something, and people are putting the last 3 digits of their phone number, or their phone number when they're a kid, or their street address, and what they're not realizing is all of these questions seem innocuous by themselves, but if you start adding up somebody's profile, which is not hard to mine, you mine their answers to these questions, and suddenly you've got their secret answers that allow you to get into bank accounts and Zero and all these different things because you've gone and hacked it over time.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I just saw this. I've been seeing I've been seeing this advertised for a long time. There was a movie on Netflix called The Great Hack, which was the whole thing about the Cambridge Analytica information debacle, where they collected all this information out of Facebook primarily, but also other sources. So they had up to 5,000 data points on each individual person.
Yep.
Therefore, they could work out if they wanted to target a specific group to behave a certain way, you just find the right combination of data points and say, hey, if you send these people this message, you'll get that result. And this is the whole thing where people are collecting information on you, on your phone number, on your responses to certain things, on things like, hey, will you respond to an ad if I ask you to type in a phone number? Yes. Okay. Gullible enough to respond to a dumb ad like that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, the other ones which are really common is you get this couple of pages of text about childhood cancer or something that's a good cause. And at the bottom it says, well, you don't really support this if you don't copy and paste this in its entirety into your timeline. And the reason they're doing that is because it's very easy once you've got this boilerplate text to harvest who's done that. So you now know where they're susceptible to things, what things they're interested in, which things they're prepared to go to that effort. Because really, none of your friends want you to copy and paste a whole bunch of text onto your timeline. They don't. They didn't come up with it. Somebody with nasty intent, and I'm kind of bored now of going back on every time I see one going, hey guys, this is somebody trying to extort your data. It doesn't go down well.
But do you know what? I spent some time on the internet and I found the originator of all of this.
Oh, go on.
Yes. It happened to be a prince in Nigeria. And one day this prince just seemed to have been given all his gold and had to find some way to get rid of it. So
that's the ones that you can't really work out you're being scammed, but you are being.
Yes.
Right? And you're being scammed over time. But there's more directed ones at the moment, right?
Yes. I mean, I've actually got a pair of socks with the I'm a Nigerian prince. Please send monies.
Yes.
from one of the antivirus vendors. It's quite funny. But that was the original thing, the original Nigerian prince scam saying...
Actually, way before that. Way before that. In 2001 was the I Love You virus. Actually, so before that, it was emails sent to people with the subject I love you, and then attached to it was a Word document, and inside the Word document was a macro virus. And it was actually it's back in the 90s. And people were so desperate to be loved that millions of people clicked on this thing. And what it did, part of its payload, was to open up your email and send an email to everybody you know saying, I love you, with this Word document attached. And that's how it spread. That was really one of the very early ones. We talk about that being a virus or a worm, but in a way it's a scam.
It is. And look, after 20 years of it, it's resulted in the combination of the Essential 8 having disable Office macros.
Despite the fact they're really useful, we'll disable them because of that approach. Yeah. So let's go on. So we talked a bit about...
What else have you seen out there? I mean, there's the thing about, you've got a camera on your computer, and I've been watching everything you do. I've seen those websites you went to. And unless you send me $1,000, I'm going to tell everyone in your address book those bad sites you've been going to.
So those can be quite sophisticated. Those are I've seen some of those which are quite nicely targeted, where they've gone on the dark web, done a search for your email address, found passwords, and actually in that email to you, they've stated your login, your password. Please send Bitcoin. I've been watching you. They haven't been watching you. Right, there's first of all, and I know some people get embarrassed by this, but my family wouldn't care. In fact, they go, "Dad." So I'm not fazed by that. But that's one we've certainly seen in the wild. People panic over getting an email like that and go, "What am I going to do?" But again, it's a scam to extort money.
Do you know why those were not as popular or didn't generate as big a return as they could have?
Go on.
And the trick is that the target audience for that are the ones that, in most cases, don't understand what to do with Bitcoin or about Bitcoin. So when the person's asking for, hey, send me like 1 Bitcoin or 0.1 Bitcoin,
they wouldn't have a clue how to do it.
What do I do this? Oh, I've got to go and get some help to send a Bitcoin to someone.
Yep.
And if I go and get help, I've got to show them the email, which means now I'm in trouble because.
Yep. Yes. Yep. And so there's those ones. I think I really rarely get caught by these because I don't. So some of the things you should think about, and we'll summarize these at the end. But don't click on links. Right? When you get links through text or email, just don't click on them. Right? Don't find another way to verify it before you go and do that. So don't click on links. But my favourite scam was one that caught me, and I'll tell you the story. It was a rainy day on Circular Quay in Sydney when we were allowed out of the house. Remember that? All those years ago. And it had started raining, and I went into one of those dodgy shops at the front of Circular Quay there, and I bought an umbrella for an exorbitant amount. I'm sure they double the amount they cost when it starts raining, but I bought an umbrella. And I walked out the shop, I unpacked my umbrella, I opened it up. As I opened it up, I got a text. And the text was really well presented. First of all, the number it came from wasn't a number, it was text. It says St. George Bank, or something very similar. And it said, we've noticed a suspicious transaction. Well, I've just made a transaction, so timing's pretty good, right? We've noticed a suspicious transaction. Please log in to St. George Internet Banking, right? And verify the transaction, and they provided a link, and I clicked on the link, and up came the login for St. George Internet Banking, and I typed my username and password twice and couldn't get in before I went, oh no, which instantly responded in me phoning the bank and going, guess what I just did? And they went, okay, well, we'll change your password, and nobody's logged in yet. We'll change your password, blah, 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 off you go. But brilliant, got me, and they got me because they were lucky that they got the timing right. But this is where those text scams are quite scary, because it's very easy to put not the number you come from, but a name, and make that name anything you want. You can really pretend. And my wife got one the other day from Ozpost, and she showed it to me, and she said she had 7 normal texts from Ozpost and a scam. And the scam said, the normal ones from Ozpost said, you've got a package coming today, the reference number is X. And you can put that into their website and do things. The scam one said, you have a package coming today, click this link. Now, my smart wife didn't click the link because she thought that's a bit different. But for most people, they don't think. And that suddenly you're in a position where you are in normally one of these sites where they say, there's been a customs fee to release it, just put in your credit card details. It looks like Ozpost, you go do it, and you start losing money.
Well, look, we've been running phishing awareness campaigns for clients recently, just in the last batch of these that we've done, and it's interesting to find how many sets of credentials we manage to get each time.
Let me explain the process of what you've been doing with customers there, just for listeners who don't know what a phishing campaign is. So what Scott and the team have done is they've sent scam emails to everyone in an organization, but when you click on the link, you don't go to a scammer's site, you go to one that we manage, and we keep the data, and it's kept secure, but it's to identify who's falling for these things. And I believe the ones you sent were just really, they had bad grammar, they had rubbish English, they were spelt wrong.
They were very average.
They were really average.
We made them as bad as we could get them in the templates, just so that, look, We want to see who's getting caught by the really obvious stuff. You just look at this and go, there's no way that's real. Yet we're still getting a lot of click-throughs, and that's the concerning part.
Yeah, so I saw one of the mitigations you gave, and I quite like this one, is you said organisations need to make a mandate that you cannot use your work account to log into anything that's not work. So you can't use it for LinkedIn or Facebook or any of those other things, because that protects you.
Well, that's it. I mean, we have the ability to search the dark web for all of the accounts and databases that contain cracked sites, where things like Facebook's 50 million users when that was breached, and they've got a list of here's 50 million accounts, here's the passwords at the time. Right, so all of those types of instances, LinkedIn's in there, there's thousands of them. There's big databases out that contain all this. We can search that, and for any particular organisation, run a report and show here's what's available on the dark web from what users, what passwords are known, and so forth. And we've done these for some clients and gone into them and said, look, see these people? Their work corporate accounts are used on these sites. And I'm looking, what's that? That's Ashley Madison or whatever. And it's like, well, what are they going there for? And it's not so much, well, they're allowed to go there. It's their own choice, but they shouldn't be using their corporate email address as the contact.
But that's one of the things. But next you find they use the same password everywhere. And suddenly when there's a breach, you're into, just imagine a scenario, and this is hypothetical, where an accountant who had access to tax file numbers and financial data for a bunch of people logged into, I don't know, one of the sites that was hacked. And there's some really, an example is, some of the school apps that are out there have been hacked. And so you go, you get a thing from the school, you're really busy, you use your work email address because you're going to remember it, use the password you always use, you log in, it gets hacked, that's on the dark web. Somebody buys those usernames and passwords for not very much money, and then attempts a hack and logs into Xero or logs into your corporate environment. And if you haven't got multi-factor authentication, if you don't have decent passwords everywhere, if you're not blocking things on 3 tries, we could go on with the list. They're now in and committing certain types of crimes against your data, and now you've got a data breach, and now we're in all sorts of trouble. So that's so here's some advice: don't click on links, right? Ever. Right. Do some training for your staff so they know which are dodgy emails and which aren't. Educate them, right? And continually do that, because people are busy and they don't, it's funny, people in our industry don't get caught as much. We've seen a lot of these things before. I got caught by that scam when I bought an umbrella. So no one's immune.
You weren't thinking at the time, and click. But here's the thing, the online training that's available, it's pretty simple, and they only go for between 2 and 8 minutes or something like that for each session. You just schedule them over with your organisation. Hey, every week watch one of these videos. It takes a few minutes, and they're pretty quick. They're direct. They spell, look, here's an example. Here's what happens when you do this. Here's the outcome. Don't do this. Be aware of this. They're pretty simple things.
So I'm going to bring up another one. So we've talked about Facebook. We've talked about text. We haven't talked about is phone scams, because they can be quite fascinating. So
especially recently.
I'll give you some examples which are real and not scams. And this is what makes them complicated. So one of the big charities, we've supported it forever, right? We really have. And it always goes on my wife's credit card, and my wife went and changed her credit card. So different numbers, blah, blah, blah. So they phoned me up, because it's on my wife's card, but it's on my name, whatever, however it works. So they phoned me up and said, your credit card's expired. I said, yeah, absolutely it has, right? We know about that. We're ready for it. They go, would you give us the new card details? I went, no. Well, why not? Says the lady on the phone. Says, I don't know who you are. I told you who I was. I said, I've got no way of verifying that. Okay, you came from a Melbourne number. That's all the data I have. No, I'm not giving you my credit card details. However, if you want to email me a link to your website, right, or the where I need to go on the website to do it, I'm happy to do that. If you want to give me a number I can call and a reference number, that's cool too. I'm happy to do that. But and I'll go double check that it really is their number and those sorts of things. But but I've had calls like that from not just charities, but I've had calls like that from statutory bodies as well. And when you talk to a statutory body and you go, no, I'm not just gonna pay you here and now on the call. You called me. I can't verify who you are. Some people get really narky about that.
Well, interestingly enough, quite a few years ago, I had the ATO ring me just to clarify something. It was a legitimate call. And the person says, yeah, I'm from the ATO, I want to do this, blah, blah. I said, that's fine. Look, I really don't know you from anybody else. Can I ring you back on the ATO phone number? And it went quiet. And she said, well, no one's ever done that before. I don't actually know how you would ring me. Well, don't you see that as an issue?
Yeah, so that's funny because a few organisations, the statutory ones, will try and identify you. So they go, can I get your name, address, date of birth, and Medicare number or whatever it is? And you go, no, you phoned me. No, I'm not giving you that over the phone. But the funny thing is, almost everybody does. Right? We're very trusting, and I think that's where telephone scams can be really effective.
It is, and a couple of the calls I've had from statutory bodies or possibly banks, when they've had overseas call centres ringing up on it's either a marketing thing or something like that. They said, I just need to verify who I'm talking to. Can you give me this? No. Well, why not? I don't give those details over the phone. Okay, well, how about then can you give me this? No, I can't give you that either. I said, okay, well, look, let's continue. Blah, blah, blah. And I said, really? I didn't give you anything. You haven't verified me. You're still willing to have this conversation. Where's that heading? Anyway,
it's funny. It's funny. So there's weird things like that, but those exploiting that is crazy easy. Now the new ones, and it's quite funny. Well, I do podcasts, so I have in my home office, I've got audio equipment, I've got lights and cameras and all sorts of things. And one of the things my audio equipment will do is it'll let me hook my phone in when I have a bunch of people on a call, and somebody can call my mobile phone and I can patch it into the call, and everyone on the call can talk to the person on the end of the phone, blah, blah, blah. So on Friday, we were having our end of week drinkies with some friends, and a scammer called. And I went, oh, this is brilliant. So it was from a UK number, so I just put him straight through into the call. So injected into the call. All my friends, they were all having a glass of wine at the end of the week. And he goes, I'm from something to do with pandemic response. And I said to him, look, before you carry on, just so you know, this call may be recorded for quality and coaching purposes. And he went, you don't have to do that, I said, no, I'm just informing you because it was a live stream, so we were recording the call. But he kept on talking and attempting to scam me for quite, and got quite silly with him in the end, and he hung up. But he really tried to effect a scam, even though I told him the call was being recorded, even though he could hear the other people laughing. Right? It must have been really obscure for the guy, and I do feel for him. But yeah, that was, and there's lots of those, and then you get the ones which are the recorded messages. This is border force. Right? Yes. There is a warrant for your arrest. That's one of my favourites.
There is a legal case outstanding. It is about to be prosecuted unless you ring this ASAP.
Yeah. So just so everybody knows, you don't get phone calls like that if there's a warrant for your arrest, right? They come and arrest you, really.
Well, yes, they're unlikely to ring you up and warn you of the warrant.
Please run away. There's a warrant. They're just trying to extort money from you. That's all that's going on there.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the interesting thing is there were some recent law changes where previously you're allowed to block your number. So the CLIP, Caller Line Identification Presentation, where you can actually block your number from being displayed. So you used to have these unknown or these private calls coming through, so you never know who that was. You're not allowed to do that anymore.
Oh.
And you actually have to show a number when you're ringing someone. And generally, as a business, you have to show a number that represents this is the business the call is coming from. Mm-hmm. So that started to cause problems for all these agencies, all these spammers and companies overseas that do all this, phone spam and all that sort of thing. Yeah. So if you've noticed recently, and by the way, the carriers, the telcos, have actually got to put controls in place now to ensure that when you're making calls, you're only allowed to make them and publish numbers that you own. Wow. So that's all sort of work in progress, which is quite interesting. But just recently, I've started to get these mobile calls, and a mobile number would ring me and say, "I've just missed a call from you." So, well, who are you? They'd say, "Well, who am I?" So, I
got one of those. Yeah,
yes.
And I'm just returning a call. Go on.
Do you know why? So this is because people are trying to use your phone number, as they are mine, and anybody else that answers because they know it's a valid phone number now, to impersonate what used to be they could previously block as a private call. Now they've got to publish a number. Well, let's publish a number that actually works. So they'll actually go and ring all these mobile numbers and find out who's answering. Great, let's use these. And it won't be the same one every time when you can track it back. They'll go and collect 1,000 numbers and just rotate around the use of all of them all over the place. So it's really difficult to find patterns and to find where these calls are coming from. But you then get people ringing back saying, "Oh, you just rang me. I missed a call. Why'd you ring me? What's this all about?" And so, "I really didn't ring you." You did. I just got you rang me. "I really did not ring you." So, yes.
That's fascinating. So definitely watch out for those.
About it, but yeah.
So let's summarize the advice. I'm just mindful of time, and some big news. This is episode 50. This is the 50th Winedown we've recorded today.
Oh, yay for us. We should ring some people. Let me ring using your number.
Yes, well, you could, and we patch it through. Except my phone's on Do Not Disturb.
We used to be able to publish whatever number you like. We actually had a soft switch at one point, and I rang someone using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And literally, that's the number that appeared on their phone. And I just made it up. So it actually wasn't that hard to do.
Wow.
Prior to these things getting locked down. That's
kind of cool. So let's summarize the advice. This is what you should tell yourself. Give them some training.
Yes.
I think that's important. Don't click on links. Never use your work email address to sign up for anything ever that's not something work. Use multi-factor authentication, because we'll just chuck that in because you should just do that anyway.
Yes.
Right? Never give people personal details over the phone unless you know who they are. And
don't assume that because you're on a mobile phone, you're safe.
Yes. No,
just
that's
the same browser that opens up. And
oh, yes. So yes, if you click a link, you can get malware on your phone as much as you can get it on your PC, as much as you can get it everywhere else. Do not assume you're safe at all.
ScamWatch, the ACCC, Australian Consumer and Competition Commission.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. They
Something
run
like that.
ScamWatch, so you can go to scamwatch.gov.au and report scams and see the latest updates. But they actually said $211 million was lost to scams last year in Australia. And this isn't one person ringing up saying, I've noticed what you've done on your computer. Send me $211 million or I'll publish it. There's lots of little transactions, which means there's a lot of people out there getting caught.
And that's the losses reported to ScamWatch.
That's right.
There's way more out there.
Know about.
Yeah. Cool. That was awesome. That was lots of fun, Scott. I certainly didn't know that about the caller line identification stuff. I did not know people had put numbers in, but yes, but now you mention it, I haven't seen an unknown or private number for ages, so that must be what's going on there. So fascinating, but cool. Thank you for that. Hopefully everyone's learned something from that. And certainly happy 50th
episode. 50th episode.
Yes. So if you are watching online, thank you so much. Thank you for watching the live stream. We're available on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. I don't know which one you found us on, but thank you. Please leave us a like, subscribe. YouTube, hit the little bell so you get notified when we publish one of these. We publish them every week on a Wednesday, so do come along. If you're listening to this or watching this later, thank you so much for hanging around till the end. I do appreciate it. Do subscribe to our podcast in whatever your favorite podcast platform is, and that could be everything from Spotify to Apple Podcasts on iTunes or Amazon Audible.com now, which is where we are. But really appreciate you listening in today. I think that's it for us, isn't it, Scott?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye.